Jim and Kathy DeMong. If you need to contact us, this is our email address. When we started putting this together, we tried to look back and see how many years we've been involved with stewardship, either on the parish or the diocesan level. And we got out to about a dozen years, and we said, I don't remember anything before that. So we've been at it for a little while now. We feel that regular lay witness is an important part to the conversion of stewardship way of life. The idea of lay witness we tend to make much more intimidating than it really needs to be. We make it into this big scary thing that people are intimidated to do, and you'll find that the more you do this in your parish, the less overwhelming it will become for your parishioners. This is a prayer process, okay? The Holy Spirit does the heavy lifting here, so don't be afraid to get your prayer groups, your prayer lines. If you know somebody in the parish that has intercessory prayer, get them involved in it. Get prayer started early on, okay? When you first decide to do a lay witness, that's when people should start praying. And all of the stuff that we're going to go over is all in the packets. We'll go through those in a little while. And the last part of it is this takes work, and it takes effort, and our decisions need to be made, and prayer is a part of the process. So we're sitting around the kitchen table getting ready for this, and where do you begin? I guess you begin at, what is lay witness, Kathy?
It's simply a personal shared story of conversion and commitment. An ordinary story by real people.
Okay, and what's the purpose of this?
Well, first of all, it's evangelization. You're sharing your faith story. And secondly, it's stewardship. It's the conversion of heart. Thirdly, it's ministry. You are inviting people into ministry. And it's also witness. It's people inspire others to convert to a stewardship way of life.
By way of comments. Protestants tend to share their stories much more readily than Catholics do. There's no reason for us to keep Christ in our life to ourselves. We should get out there and tell our stories. A lay witness program can make a large parish feel smaller. Maybe you go to the 4 o'clock Mass, and none of those people will go to the 10 o'clock Mass. And by having people come from other Masses and speak, helps to make a parish feel smaller and more intimate.
And your benefits can be, you hear about the story from someone just like me, just like you. And you hear about spiritual conversion leading to that stewardship way of life. You hear a message from someone other than the ordained, and it connects people. It draws people into ministry.
So you're looking at the person that you're going to have give the lay witness talk. And what are the qualities you look for in that person? They should be known within the parish, and that doesn't mean well known. It just means known. They should be respected. They should be prayerful. They should contribute in time, talent, and treasure to the parish. This can be an individual, it can be a couple, it can be a family. Some of the considerations when you're looking for the person that you want to do this is, who's the audience? Know your parish and understand what makes them up. Is your parish agricultural? Is it industrial? Is it blue collar? Is it white collar? What are the economics of your parish? Who will your parish relate to giving this presentation?
If your potential pool for speakers is just the well-known leaders, you are missing a very important group in your parish, and that's your hidden gems. It's the person that, the funeral luncheon worker. It might be somebody that's doing landscaping. It might be someone who comes in and cleans. There are gems out there that have a story to tell that you don't want to overlook. Look to your other ministry leaders to identify people to come forth and ask them. Remember that not all people are comfortable doing public speaking. You could have someone that just speaks at their particular mass, the people that they go to mass with every Sunday, and then you have multiple speakers. Or you can have someone do all the masses, whatever works for your parish. And the one thing about when people hear the word stewardship, what do they think?
Money.
Okay.
You all passed.
You can split your stewardship story from and have it time and talent and leave out the treasure part and maybe do your treasure talk during Lent when you're wanting to give alms.
We were involved with Catholic Stewardship Consultants several years back, and one of the things that they recommended year after year after year is that you have lay witness talks 3 to 4 times a year, okay? And as you so do, it makes it less overwhelming, okay? People get used to other people standing up and giving their lay witness story, and it doesn't become this great crisis event that you have to have with your stewardship renewal each year. So 3 to 4 times a year is a good thing to look for as a goal. And so you get to the elements of a speaker, of a witness talk. First of all, the person should write the talk as they speak. Okay, this is not a high school or college level paper that they're going to be reading. This is just the normal conversational tones telling their story. And when Kathy first wrote her speech that she gave today, her presentation, she wrote it like it was a paper. And she says, "What do you think of this?" And she read it and I go, and so she had to take that formalness out of it, and she had to put her own self into it. We're probably going to get a rebate from the paper company because we printed so many copies out. Anyway, witness talk elements, and this will be in your packet. And the other thing that I have to say is, as your talk is constructed, I guess if I was to work with someone on the development of this, I would have them read over the elements of a witness talk, and then just shelf it, and come back when you've written your talk and look at it and see how many of them. Because if you give a stewardship talk, you will naturally include these things. They include personal introduction, relationship to the parish, details of the witness's personal stewardship journey and its current status, what constitutes good stewardship, the story of how the witness was introduced to stewardship, who or what inspired and continues to inspire them, changes in one's life after being introduced to stewardship. How does the witness decide what and how to give time, talent, and treasure back to God? And an invitation to the audience to join in the stewardship journey. When my wife first read those over, she says, "I'm not writing that." But in the end, when she came back, she answered all those questions, okay? She didn't necessarily use it as an absolute framework to build it on, but the speech did answer that in the end.
Okay, when do you have your speaker present their little talk? Well, if you do it before Mass, you miss the latecomers. Or you might upset the people who are there to pray before Mass and have their quiet time. Or you can start Mass late. And I'm sure the ordained have some ideas about people getting upset if you start Mass late. Or you can do it after the homily, which can upset some purists, and they would call that a liturgical abuse. But it's the time you catch the most people. Or you can do it after Holy Communion. Well, there you've got people who are ready to dash out the door. And also you miss the people who left right after communion, who probably need to hear somebody's shared story. Also promote it. If you've got that written copy that somebody gave, put it in your bulletin. Make it bulge and insert. Put it on your website. You can put it in your newsletter. You could also, if you have the capacity to videotape, make a YouTube video. But just promote it, don't let it just die with that one presentation.
Okay, you can look at your packets now. You all have one of these stuck in the blue folder you were given today. For every page that's in here, Kathy and I probably looked at a dozen more. Okay, and we condensed it down into this. There's a lot of information on stewardship talks that are on the internet. It's easy to find. You can find other people's talks and see how they were put together and what they had to say and how they approached it and this and that on the internet. But what we gave you in your packets is a start to finish lay witness talk program, how you go about organizing it. And the first thing is, we're back to saying it again, prayer. Prayer is where you start. When you decide to do this, start praying on it, get other people to pray for it. The Holy Spirit does the heavy lifting here for you. The first page talks about how you go about identifying the people, who they should be. How do you invite them? I do recommend the pastor invite them. It seems to go best that way. And then in preparing the speaker, and the rest of the handout you have talks about preparing the speaker. Page 2 is what you can pass along to somebody who said that they would do this. It just gives them kind of an outline as to what they should be thinking about and focusing on in making the presentation. Near the bottom of page 2, it says the next step would be to compose a 6 to 8 minute presentation. That's a little long. Okay, 4 to 6 minutes it seems to be adequate for most of the lay witness talks I've heard. On the bottom of the page, and it's highlighted in pink on mine, it says, "Let the Holy Spirit take it from here." Page 3 and page 4 are more tips to help the lay presenter. Page 4 mentions that it should be 2 to 3 minutes. That's too short. Page 5 and 6 and 7 again are to help the person compose the talk. The last page, page 7, says at the bottom, lower right-hand corner, don't be afraid. Breathe and let the Holy Spirit speak through you. And that's just what happens. Go ahead, Kathy. There are don'ts on that page too.
There are some do's and don'ts, but I would like to just point out the don'ts. Don't talk in terms of bargaining. I did this and God gave me this. I donated this much and God gave me that, because God doesn't always answer it that way. Don't stress the church needs or budgets or talking in terms of money. If everyone gave $10 a week, you'd be fine. Or use threats of possible consequences. If we don't do this and you don't give, this will happen. Or suggest that parish stewardship is an obligation.
Whose parish has lay witness talks? Whose parish? Father Bill, would you like to tell us about it?
Well, that's how we do our annual diocesan appeal. We were very active Stewardship Commission. If you heard Kathy DeMong speak today, she's the head of the Stewardship Commission for the diocese. She's a stewardship staff member for my parish. So we have a very active Stewardship Commission, and the commission will consider who should we ask to speak for the annual diocesan appeal. And Kathy keeps a list of names who've been asked in the past. We know all that, and we come up with a list of names. Stewardship Commission discusses them, and I discuss them with Kathy, and we eventually reach 2 or 3 people who we want to speak and ask in that order. Kathy usually does the asking, but it's done. She knows they know I'm involved in that process. And the person, it's usually an individual, maybe a couple, will accept to do it. And then, as you indicated here, prepares a text. And they always submit it to me, and I go over it and make some suggestions, perhaps. And then at the homily, we tell people know when we're going to do it. We do it, that's usually the last weekend of September every year. I, or the deacon who's preaching that weekend, will preach very briefly and in the homily with introducing Somebody will speak to us now on behalf of the Anglo-Diocese of Appeal. And maybe try to tie the homily into that also. But there is a brief homily, but it is very brief. It's a little fervorino kind of thing. And then the people come to the pulpit and speak. And we've had good results. My parish has been trained well. We build into our budget about $15,000 to $17,000 excess coming back to us in the annual Diocese Appeal every year. And we usually do that. We usually have enough pledges to meet our obligation within 3 weeks after the appeal presentation.
In terms of time and talent, Father Bill, whose stories have you heard? Do you recall any of them?
Well, I recall the speakers. I don't know to recall the story so much,
Okay.
but certainly the speakers. And they're people who are known in the parish and are pretty well known, and are people who are models of living our faith.
Does anybody else have a lay witness? Go ahead, Dave.
Well, what I've found, a couple of things. I've been making some notes, and I looked at, was one of the first things I looked at when I came in here. Tell a story. Don't read a document. Tell a story. And something that I have been doing my whole life, did a lot of training and stuff like that. Before I asked someone to do something, before I would ask someone to witness, write one yourself. Follow these instructions. Do it yourself. You'll be able to much better explain to them what needs to get done, and if they come to you to review it, you'll understand what all went into that. And one of the most important things you mentioned, Kathy, the don'ts. Right out of the Stewardship of Disciples Response book, using the pastoral letter on stewardship, one of the points that I had highlighted in here a long time ago is a willingness to trust that if stewardship is taught and accepted as a faith response, urgently needed human, physical, and financial resources will follow. Stewardship, faith response. That's what you're talking about. Not money, not other stuff. Okay, I'll shut up.
No, thanks very much. Does anybody else have lay witness at their parish?
I would say, as a follow-up, we talk about stewardship often in homilies. I use the word stewardship quite regularly. I used it this weekend and talked about the Ten Commandments.
Actually, that's another thing that Catholic stewardship consultants had recommended, is that once or twice a month you use the word stewardship in your homily.
I do very frequently. We are very attuned towards stewardship.
Chloe, I'm going to pick on you. What brings you here today? What parish are you from?
Well, the reason I'm here is probably different from everybody else. I have lived on the East Coast for about 25 years. And lay witnesses and everything we're doing here today is what I'm used to. So when I came back to Iowa City, which is where I'm from originally, and we didn't have this, I just assumed we would. And so I'm really concerned about developing a program so that people realize how beautiful and wonderful and beneficial this is to the community outside the church as much as it is inside, and to get people out of their comfort zones so that they're willing to step out and do some of the things that you're all suggesting today.
What ministries are you involved with at your parish?
I haven't gotten involved because I was looking for something new and I decided what I need to do is get something started. I've done it all over the years. I really have done a lot.
Did you enjoy participating in those ministries?
Every one of them. I think the one that I probably enjoyed the most was prison ministries at St. Thomas More. And that was many years ago. And we worked with the families of the prisoners.
How'd you get involved in that ministry?
Nobody would do it, and they asked me if I would, and I said I would. And we had a tree where we had gifts, like it was a Christmas tree, and you'd take 7-year-old little girl needs these 3 things or whatever, and you'd buy a gift. And then I took high school students with me to deliver the gifts, and it was so eye-opening for those kids. I remember that day probably as much as
So it was more with the families than the,
I did also go to prisons.
the medical center, IMCC,
And now I went, this has been so many years ago, but
Anamosa.
is there one in Fort Madison? Okay, that's where I went. I went there several times, but our work, we worked with the families too.
Thank you for your lay witness talk.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Didn't she? She answered all the questions. How long has she been there? What is she doing? Why is she involved? Who does she impact? Okay? Just that easy. Why is she there?
One thing that I've heard after witness talks are given, a lot of the parishioners will come up to that person and say, "Wow, I never knew that about you. I thought I knew you." But they don't. They don't know you. And you have to say things like that. They do know you. Aha, we're getting somewhere. It's an eye-opener.
It is. Are there any questions? Yes, please.
I want to get back to, well, how did you get the family names, I guess, too? Were they a part, well, how did you get the family names?
I think the family names were given to the church,
Okay.
and then we didn't use their names on the tree. And then we just received it, I think they called it the angel tree, maybe?
Yeah.
We had like a little angel, and they had like the name and age. It was a wonderful experience.
If you have the family name and you give them something for Christmas, it is not a donation according to the IRS. If it's given to the church and the church decides who gets it, it's a taxable deduction. That's why you didn't get the people's names, I'm sure.
Oh.
I'm an engineer, I think about that kind of stuff.
Tom.
So I've seen a lot of witness talks, but they tend to be given by folks who are in the later stages of their life. We have a young parish, and it was, I think it would be useful if we could recruit some younger people to give it, because it seems to me that that's the stage in your life where that's our perception, and by our and myself and the parish council, think that we want to increase the participation in the parish of some of the younger families. Can you give me any advice about recruiting millennials, if you will, to give witness talks? Is there anything different in getting successes along those lines?
Was that in our first session to talk about it? Go for it, bro.
I would suggest, and you're looking for your gems, look to your youth. I'm thinking of my nephew now, who's in college at the University of Iowa. He's a music major and used to cantor, but before that, he was an altar server. And so he's been in ministry for a long time. And here's someone that could talk about time and talent, maybe not so much treasure, but that would be, one place to look for younger people to do it. Dave?
We're just next, or upstairs, and talking about the 25 years of stewardship. And one of the examples Judy brought up is she even used, they invite the youth when they come back from NCYC to talk about they're sharing their faith, they're on fire. That just, even an opportunity like that, I think is a lay witness. Not so much on time, talent, and treasure necessarily, but those type of examples.
This is not, kind of to address your question, Tom, too, is this is not rocket science. And you have probably more lay witness going on in your parish than what you realize. You know, if somebody comes in and promotes CEW, if somebody comes in and promotes Knights of Columbus and says what being a member of Knights of Columbus does for them, that is a lay witness. You know, if you have a school and somebody from the school comes and makes a presentation during Catholic School Weeks, that is a lay witness of sorts. Okay, so there's more of this that goes on under other titles than what we recognize. And we have to be aware of that too. This isn't terrible. You know, it isn't a life-ending event to be asked to do this. It should be really routine for people to want to tell their story about Christ in their life. And you talked about, forgive me, I'm getting old, but I think it was in the first session today that they were talking about a single mother, okay, that came and gave a lay witness about. And she talked about, you know, her treasure that she gave also, in addition to, you know, her time and talent contributions towards to the parish, and how moving that was that somebody who, the widow's mite, if you will, how moving that story was, okay, and her lay witness about what Christ is in her life. Okay, so, I don't know if that helps you or
Yeah,
not.
no, this is good, thank you.
I guess that's my question. I have heard the term lay witness used not in reference to stewardship, although it's interweaved. You know, if you're telling your faith story, probably your experiences at church are going to come into it. They're in this stewardship. But do you do both at your parish? Is there more of a, do you have lay witness 4 times a year that is bent towards the stewardship angle and participation in time and talent versus just my conversion story or my, you know, reconversion story, or do you know what I'm saying?
We've done it just once a year, but it was time, talent, treasure.
It was in association with the
Renewal.
renewal.
Okay.
And usually the ADA is about the same time.
Okay.
It's been in the fall.
I'd like to make a comment. One church that I did belong to, they had a special service for their conversion story, which the music and everything that went with it was just beautiful. And then on Sundays, they would have different types, any type of story, and people became so used to it. It was not a problem to get people involved. I was surprised at the willingness.
I was just curious if parishes had done, what parishes have done. Just curious what other parishes have done.
If you're,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
if you're just getting started, so I grew up in the parish that I'm a member of now, never recall this happening as a child, and they haven't done it since the years that we've moved back. So if you're, it might be a situation where this is brand new. Would you start possibly with, if you have lectors that also serve in other ways that might be willing to speak, would you start with folks like that that are already comfortable with speaking in front of the church? If you're,
It's a personal decision, okay? Sometimes as you roll through this, sometimes you tend to get the people who do everything in the parish.
right,
Okay, you get the people who, you see their face all the time. And one of the more important points that Kathy brought out is hidden gems.
yeah.
Okay, the people who are there, they are the backbone of your parish. They're making it happen. When you have a funeral luncheon, they are your go-to person to make sure that it's covered, okay? Or it's in so many ways. It might be somebody who, they teach CCD, okay, and they just want to tell about when they're teaching these 4th graders and they see them as seniors in high school, okay? And so it's what you can find in it, and it's the comfort of the person making the presentation, but don't be afraid to put somebody up there who is not well known, just known. Does that help? Brother Bill?
I'm going to offer a comment. It's more directed to stewardship than to lay witness, but I found that there's a way of talking about beginning the conversation about stewardship that people readily understand. You can start there, and then you can move into stewardship, time, talent, and treasure, that kind. But to talk about land, sea, and air, Well, we live in Iowa, the land is precious to us. There's all the conversation about how dirty our waterways are. You talk about stewardship of the land, sea, and air, people get that. And then you can start there and then move into time, talent, and treasure kind of stuff. But I think it's a really good starting point for the conversation about stewardship. People readily understand that.
We had a couple of takeaways from this.
Did you have something else?
Yeah, I do, because I was in a church once where the program was new, and I didn't even know they were thinking about it, but the priest was getting older, and I was new to the parish, and I went to him and I said, where do you need help? I just want to work wherever you need help the most. And he said, I've always wanted to start a St. Vincent de Paul. And he said, the people here will not do it. And I didn't really know how to do it, but I got some people together and we started doing some things. And we ended up having one of the largest ones. People were coming from around. But I believe it wasn't because of me. He supported me, the priest supported. With his support, we went on to do so many things in that church that had never been done before. And I've been to a church where we did not have the support of the priest. It didn't go well. So I cannot emphasize enough how important that support is to your success.
Okay, you bring up the first of my takeaway points here. The pastor needs to be on board. There is no more singly important factor than the pastor being on board. And when it comes to lay witness, the degree to which the pastor is on board is the degree to which that program will be a success. Okay. Second, it should be written as the person speaks. It should flow off the tongue very naturally. Thirdly, ideally, try to do this 3 to 4 times a year. You may not make that, but boy, it sure makes, that's a goal to work towards. Fourthly, what can we as the Diocesan Stewardship Commission do for you? Do you need help organizing this? Do you need help training presenters? Let us know. We'd be more than happy to. You can contact Kathy and I, or you can call Andy Gaitner at the Chancery, and he can get you on board to help with what you need. We're going to be doing a workshop later this year sometime. I'm not sure when it is, but you all got that thing with the toolbox, right? And training lay witness speakers, something very similar to this is one of the things we're going to be doing once or twice in next year. And if you would like somebody to come down and help you along at your parish, feel free. We'd be happy to do that. Finally, most importantly, this is a prayer process. Okay, don't think you're out there in the middle of nowhere. There's God will send you a lifeline. Okay, it isn't just us doing it. The Holy Spirit does the whole heavy lifting. Any questions?
If you're, I'm going to ask this one. It's something I should ask someone.
Okay.
I want to make a comment. There's us old people. I'm not as old as dirt, but I've been around before the Dead Sea got set. One thing
You remember that too?
One thing that in our church, we're an old people. We have all these old people, etc. The average age of everybody in the United States is 35 years old. The average age of everybody in the state of Iowa is 35 years old. The average age of everybody in Davenport and Muscatine County is 35. The average age of everybody in your church, unless you're really weird, is 35. And that's the majority of the people, and that's the people we gotta get involved. Check the census out.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
If you need our help,
Give us a call.